I'd like to welcome everyone this evening to the Board of Works and Public Safety, October 26th at 5 p.m. Could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Sheets,
Here.
Greg Miller,
Present.
Megan Sheets.
Present. Next up on the agenda are the minutes from the October 12th regular meeting of the Board of Public Works and Safety. Do I have a motion to pass those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Sheets,
Aye.
Greg Miller,
Aye.
Megan Sheets.
Aye. Next on the agenda is the approval of claims.
I'll make a motion we approve the claims submitted this evening.
Second.
Roll call, please, Carol.
Mayor Sheets,
Aye.
Greg Miller,
Aye.
Megan Sheets.
Aye. Okay, next on the agenda, we have public comments. Do we have any comments this evening?
There was none there.
Nothing. Okay, next we'll go on to the department reports. Jason, we didn't have you on the agenda, but do you want to go ahead and give a report on the NVH funds?
Actually, you just want to try to get it here.
Hear me now? I think I spoke to the Board of Works. I know I sent you guys an email recently, but I think I spoke to the Board of Works in the past about some information I found during our mapping system for CCMG that was kind of a positive thing, and we've been working on it for quite a while, trying to find out what roads in our city is not in our MVH. Got a really cool email from NDOT, and we've actually have 11.4 miles of our roadway in the city that hasn't been in our MVH. And that is about a letter of MVH going forward. And we're still working on it. Got some information I'd have in there, signing paper to send back to them, but pretty exciting, about $130,000 more in our MVH from here on out. We're moving forward. Unfortunately, we can't go backwards. That would be nice to be able to go back and get what we've lost. I just wanted to report to the Board of Works that hopefully in 2021 we'll see that some point in time. And that's what I have.
Thank you, Jason. I really appreciate it. And definitely NVH can use that revenue. Thank you for all your hard work. Next up is the Police Department, Chief Shoemaker.
Good afternoon. The first thing I believe is traffic surveys, and I apologize in advance. I did not get this to Carol, our clerk treasurer at the time. The first, there was a traffic survey at Rossville Avenue between US 421 and Morrison Street. There was a complaint of excessive semi-traffic. We spent a total of 19 hours of survey time on 5 different dates during the month of September. During that time, there were 2 semis that traveled on that road. One was local and another was from a large corporation. There were also several dump trucks that were on the first 3 days of September that were involved in the millings of the streets, I believe John Street and maybe Gentry, somewhere around there. So I'll submit this survey for the record, recommending that there be no change to the traffic rules right now it's open for traffic. I don't know if the street superintendent may, can talk more about Rossville Avenue in terms of the limit, weight limits for trucks, but I see no reason to have no truck route on Rossville Avenue. And Jason, I didn't ask earlier, give you time, so this is the first he's probably hearing about that, so he may want some time to look at that, but the complaint was for semi-traffic, and we're not finding that there is a problem.
Okay, thank you, Jason.
Chief, the only thing I see over there, that I've seen over there, is people that are, a lot of times going crazy. Well, their GPS on their semis, or that's not, to come back, I don't know if they've been on Russell Avenue, they'll come in and then go back out farther to the barriers, but other than that, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Captain Skinner, or Assistant Chief Skinner, did a study on that a while back, probably the same complaint.
So we'd like to go ahead and take that recommendation from Chief Shoemaker, not to make any changes in there. Okay, thank you.
The other traffic survey for requesting a stop sign at Fudge Avenue at Washington Street. I don't have the written recommendation. It will be that I don't recommend that there be a stop sign. There was a crash 10 years ago there that injured a child, but the traffic. As far as that road to commit 19 hours of officers to be down there, I've traveled that road and I've talked to the person who requested this. I think the bigger issue is that Center Drive by ordinance is required to stop at Washington Street. It does not. There is a priority routes ordinance that declares Washington Street and Clinton Street that all traffic entering those streets shall stop. And there's not a stop sign there. You have to stop on Washington Street. But I will send that to Les. That's one thing I noticed in the ordinance. It's an old ordinance. I don't know, but it is. There should be a stop sign at Fudge, and there's no reason that I see a stop sign, a four-way stop. So I can get the data for that and submit that in a written form later. But that's on your agenda because today just was a lot of other stuff going on. I did not get a chance to get that documented.
Thank you. Les, do you have anything to say? Okay, thank you, Scott.
Also, last week, I believe the mayor or the clerk treasurer forwarded you an email on behalf of the Amnesty International Human Rights Watch, Positions for Human Rights, and Human Rights First. In this letter, if you're familiar with it, it was requesting the mayor and city council to review their police department policies on use of force, crowd control, peaceful assembly, and whatnot prior to the election on November 3rd. As the mayor and board of works, you're obligated to ensure that your police department does not subject citizens to unnecessary or excessive use of force or arbitrary arrest. This group, the collective group, asked me to review the following standards: peaceful assembly, and also that make sure the police is enabling peaceful assembly, that the police avoid unnecessary or disproportionate restrictions on peaceful assembly, and minimize arrests and use of force in responding to peaceful protest. In terms of enable peaceful assembly, we've done that. We don't have a lot of the protests and events that you may have seen nationwide in larger cities. We've had 2 such events this year. At each event, we protected their freedom to assemble and their freedom to protest the government. And during those events, there were no use of force reports or arrests at those places, and those were held. One was at the courthouse downtown and one at the police department. In terms of use of force that this letter is looking at is that any force, physical techniques or tactics, chemical agents, or weapons used on a person. In terms of chemical agents, our department does provide a spray to each employee that does contain oleoresin capsaicin, and that is an irritant for your skin, eyes, and mouth. We also provide an inventory. This is not something that we provide on day-to-day patrol, but we do have pepper balls and larger containers of the OC spray, as you may know as pepper spray. And those larger canisters will be used for larger crowds, events, but our policy forbids the use of those larger containers just in a mass spraying event. These canisters must be aimed at the person who is causing the disruption or violating the law. It is not to simply disperse a non-violent crowd. In terms of weapons that they're talking about in the letter, each officer on a day-to-day is carrying a collapsible baton and a taser. And the other weapons that they're referring to, such as launchers, those pepper ball guns I was talking about, stored at the police department and are only available in events that we plan for or happen. They're just not in the car to be used for any day-to-day. I think that they've sent your letters probably, about 3 or 4 pages, maybe 6 pages long. So I want you guys to hear that locally and what we're doing in terms of use of force. They're talking about use of force and peaceful assemblies, but I thought it'd be a good time to share our use of force with you today and tonight at the city council meeting. What we do for de-escalation and other methods used to subdue dangerous people. In March 2020, I took every shotgun that we have. We no longer use the shotgun for lethal purposes. A couple of our officers painted the gun, the shotgun stock, and the barrel in the rack to an orange color, which indicates it is a less lethal option. But with your support, we purchased socks inside the shotgun shells, and those will be used for people who are mentally disturbed that maybe have a weapon, and an officer, not all the officers, but at least one in a situation will grab their less lethal shotgun in an attempt to prevent a lethal use of our rifle or our handgun. The reason it's it's not less than lethal, it's less lethal because it still has a propensity to kill someone. And so we train on where to use that. We have a great firearms instructor group with Captain Sorrells, Officer Zach Nichols, and also Officer Lance Pickrell, who does all of our less lethal training. And we train on these things regularly. In June 2020, our policy allowed for the use of carotid control techniques. And I banned that technique. And we now only allow that technique or any technique in a lethal situation. If an officer's life is in danger, if they don't have a weapon, then that would be an option to use, but only in a lethal force situation. From January 1st to December 31st, officers submitted 26 use of force reports. We arrested 918 people. That's less than 3% of arrests resulting in the use of force. And most of those were physical use of force, tasers, and then the OC spray. There were 0 complaints of excessive force in 2019. So that's, in response to that letter, I know it was meant probably for bigger cities that have used different tactics to push rioters or looters and protesters out of a certain area. But I wanted to share what we've been doing here in Frankfort. So I don't know if you have any questions. I have submit this for the record and also a copy for you all to read later. And also our policies, I thought it would be best to send it electronically, several pages, and I think then the board can just review those and have any questions later to get with me, and then I can answer them.
After receiving that, I'd ask Scott to do some research on that and do a presentation. I thought he provided some good information for us, and I didn't know if any of you had questions or any concerns.
No questions or concerns, just an admiration for your staff and how they conduct their business and keeping our community safe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
And if there's no other questions, we're prepared for Halloween on Saturday. We'll be on extra patrol, but we're trying to just kind of, there'll be no, any events at the police department. And I did open the lobby doors of the police department this time since March, just because as the weather changes, I can just see people coming back, I'm bringing them in and hanging out there in the hallway and whatnot. I wanted to separate that and put people back in our front line. And we're kicked on today, thankfully. That's good. That's all I have.
Thank you, Scott. Next up, we have the fire department, John Kirby.
Thank you, Mayor. This contest due to some leaky valves. And to fix these valves is going to be $1,694.34. It was in the shop. I wanted to go ahead and fix them while I was there. So I felt like it was kind of an emergency to get with you the unit where it works. And anyways, I just want to ratify the bid to go ahead and pay for the valves that I got repaired. And N 3 is back in service now as well. And I would take that out of fire cum equipment.
Someone like to make a motion to ratify that?
Sure, I'll make a motion that we ratify the bid for repairing the valves of $1,694.39.
I'll second.
Roll call, please, Carol.
Aye.
Greg Miller,
Aye.
Megan Sheets.
Aye. Motion passes.
ARC has met the new deadlines that were set by Board of Works for our bathroom project. Last week, the city building inspector was not able to make it over to do a final inspection. So the county inspector came over and he did issue us our certificate of occupancy. And I would like to put a request for payment to ARC for the final payment of $1,695.95, which puts the project total at $53,065. I would like to take this out of building repairs and maintenance and city general, which is 101006381. At this time, I have $6,317.86 in that account. I would like to go ahead and hopefully if this gets approved, to get with city clerk tomorrow and possibly do a pre-written so we can get a check and get ARC paid so we can get done with this project.
Were you satisfied then with the final inspection and
Yes.
how it all turned out?
Yeah, they had to redo some stuff on the door, and they came back on that Saturday and did that. And so everything is good to me. So I don't know, have you been up there, Greg, since then?
Do either one of you have any concerns or any questions for him on this?
No, I think we have finally put this to bed, if you will, this particular project. And so I agree with you, John, and from the fund from which you want to make this final draw. So I'd like to make a motion that we pay the final draw to ARC.
Second.
John, what was that for again?
I'm gonna have to take it out of building repair and maintenance, which at this time I have, it's a 381 account. got $6,317.86 in that account for my last appropriation sheet that I got.
1100.
6381.
About 361.
Maybe I already,
Okay, 5,317.
maybe I didn't have my glasses on when I was looking at it. Let me see. I got it right here. Yeah, 361.
Okay, okay.
That looked like an 8 without my glasses, so. Sorry,
Okay, that's fine.
it's 361.
Okay.
Yeah.
Carol.
Mayor Sheets,
Aye.
Greg Miller,
Aye.
Megan Sheets.
Aye. Motion passes. So if you can give Carol, since we have a contract with them and we've been finishing this up, we're okay to go ahead and do it pre-written, don't you think? Okay.
Yep. All right, thank you. It brought to my attention, obviously I don't use the computers over across the alley, but my captains and firefighters last week or so have been talking to me about possibly a couple new computers. Our firefighters, they have one computer that they do all the reports on. And the captain's office does the daily attendance, their reports, overtime, calling an overtime guys, all the important stuff the fire department uses is on the captain's computer. These computers are around 20 years old. They were actually the computers that Kevin Holt built. That's what I've been told. Do you know if that's true?
I'd say that's probably pretty close.
Yeah, so they're very slow. It takes forever to do a report. On the captain's computer, you actually got to power on, power off just to get it to start up. You can't just click on it and go. You have to turn it off or wait and then turn it back on. So I think it's time to these computers. I would like, we've worked with Provide on just about every computer we have purchased at the fire department in recent years. And I like it. Provide one that local. During the new ownership from 2 or 3 years ago, and this young guy is pretty good at working with us. So with convenience and the customer service that they give us, I would like to stay with Provide if we possibly can. And my capital outlays has been moved the past couple of years. Rudy Financial has moved them out of City General into Fire Cum. So if you look at Fire Cum, I have computers, videos. I only have $800 in there. But I would like to give it to clerk treasurer tomorrow and move $870 out of furniture through Fire Cum. Just move $870 down into the computers, video, to be able to purchase these two computers. That's because of our server, because it's not a home computer, it actually connects to the fire department server. So it's my understanding we had to go with that type of computer to be able to do that.
Can you give me these numbers again?
Yeah, capital outlays in Fire Cum 412-001-400. That would be the furniture fixtures. And I would like to move $870 down to computer video, which is 412-001-410-000.
Okay, it looks like you should be okay to do that. Sure.
Okay.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
Sure. And I do, John, I think it's long overdue. Obviously, those computers get used a lot in the day-to-day operations for the captains, battalion chiefs. Obviously, training for the firefighters, so much of that I know they pick up on their phones, but it would be nice to have that available to them to use at the station. So I would ask that we approve Chief Kirby's request for 2 new computers after checking with our treasurer. Tomorrow, that is clarified.
I'll second.
Roll call, please, Carol.
Mayor Sheets.
Aye.
Greg Miller.
Aye.
Megan Sheets.
Aye.
Okay. Passes for the approval of the 2 new computers.
All right, thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
All right, thank you.
John, what's the situation with engine 2 that you found from last week?
Engine 2 is in the shop. It's going to be a few days. Center Township, they agreed to, go ahead and get it fixed, but it did not pass on test and ended up not, they thought it burnt, blew something up, something with the radiator, ended up being computer oriented. So there has to be, they had got to replace some of the computer to get that thing going. They were unable to get it to start because of the computer, so they actually towed it out and took it to Lafayette, to the facility that's going to be working on that. And not sure what the cost is going to be yet, but like I said, Center Township's aware of it, and they said get it fixed. So right now we have engine 4 down at Station 2. Once engine 3 came back, we switched. I moved engine 4 down to Station 2. So right now our spare engine is in service.
I have a quick question also. How about the controlled burn? Did that take place?
Mm-hmm. Yes. The first day, because of our engine problems we were having, we ended up not doing the training out there on Thursday because we were down a truck, and they went and engine 3 got back Friday morning. So we were able to go out. They did training on Friday. We allowed the young guys to come in Saturday and with Matt, sit them out there before they rented the house down. So they got some good training in Saturday with some of the young guys, and then they burned it down without any niches. So it's interesting. The family that owns the house told us that we saved them. There's going to be $20,000 for them to have a company come in and demolish that house and haul everything away. But by burning it down, we saved them about $18,000. So, and we got some really good training out of it. You're welcome.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Next up, Parks Department, Art Training.
Good evening. I just have one thing tonight. It is for Veterans Park, and it's going to be the VFW. They would like it on Veterans Day, so they have a Veterans Day speech that's going to be there. They are doing a thing with the health department, so they're going through the health department as a first step.
I think this is an annual event. It's something that we normally do there.
Correct. It is the same.
Does anyone have any questions, or would you like to make a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion that we approve the special event agreement for November the 11th, 2020 at Veterans Park.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Sheets.
Aye.
Greg Miller. Megan Sheets.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Well, that's
Thank
all
you.
I have for you folks.
Okay, thank you.
Mark, what's the situation at Prairie Creek Park with is there a final walkthrough date yet for that?
We do not have a walkthrough date as of yet. I talked to Matt today. They're going to go ahead and finalize the winterization of the splash pad. They're going to do the irrigation winterization. That's something that I stressed to them that we were not going to do while it was still their project. So I spoke with him today, and he agreed. So we should, by the end of the week, I imagine they will be winterized, and I will at least have done the training on the irrigation system. I already know how to do the splash pad, but like I said, it's not our responsibility yet, so.
And do you have an ongoing list of questions for them before we finalize?
I talk to Matt all the time.
Okay.
Same thing with Joe Palmer. We talk to him frequently. I probably talk to him 3 times a week. So he addresses pretty much everything that I bring up. So I feel like we have a good relationship with them, and there's a lot of things that I went wrong. There's some things they could have controlled, but there's things they couldn't have, so that's the situation we're in.
Yeah, well, I think sometime, maybe this next week or before we do that, I'll sit down with you and maybe a couple things we can go through.
Absolutely.
Looks like we may have a couple things left uncompleted that maybe they could get finished up while they're there. And then I know you and I have talked about some future long-term concerns. And the mayor and I have talked about how we address that later on, if we have issues with that. So
sounds great.
I'll get together with you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Human Resources. Caitlin, do you want to talk to us about the holiday schedule?
All right, so I emailed you the 2021 and 2022 holiday schedules a couple weeks ago. I think you have them in your packet. But we always just have to approve them before the end of the year. It's really important, especially for the fire department, where all of their employees schedule their whole year's worth of vacation at the very beginning. The only change that we made was adding Columbus Day back in. And working this last Columbus Day, it makes sense because the county's closed, a lot of financial institutions are closed, and the state is closed. So it's kind of hard, especially for like clerk treasurer's office, to do a lot of stuff. So it just makes sense to especially follow that day.
And just for the record, we're approving both 2021 and 2022
Yes.
schedules, so we're doing a 2-year.
We do normally keep a 2-year rolling schedule of that.
Okay.
We kind of just got off of it last year with all the changes that were happening.
Well, yes, we've had a chance to review this, and we had been previously about it. So yes, I'll make the motion to approve the schedules as presented this evening.
I'll second.
Roll call, please, Carol.
Mayor Sheets.
Aye.
Greg Miller.
Aye.
Megan Sheets.
Aye. Okay, will you or Carol's office see that these get passed out then to the different?
Yeah,
departments?
I will have Cheryl send them out to all
Okay.
departments tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Bless.
The mayor had asked me to prepare a resolution extending temporary work rules and compensation for appointed officers, deputies, and other employees. What number is assigned to that?
20-12.
20-12, so we have done that. That is extending the provisions that we used our Governor Holcomb's executive order some months ago. His was 20-08. And then it was extended to October 14. And we do feel that, at least the administration feels that the provisions of that previous resolution need to be extended and made retroactive to October 14th. And this resolution provides, if it's adopted, that not only is it retroactive to October 14th, but continued and extended indefinitely until otherwise terminated by this board.
Thank you, Les, for preparing that. Do you have any questions for Les, or do we want to make a motion to pass this?
Yes, and Les, thank you for doing this so quickly today, because we had a lot of discussion today. And I just want to, before I make the motion, I just want to acknowledge that I think too, we could add some more detail to this at a later date to kind of shore up the different situations and where this can apply most appropriately. So, but for today, as presented, the resolution 20-12, and it states it's retroactive back from October 14th of 2020.
and is being continued and extended indefinitely until otherwise determined by the board.
I second that. Thank you, Les.
Roll call, please, Carol.
Mayor Sheets.
Aye.
Greg Miller.
Aye.
Megan Sheets.
Aye. Thank you, Les, for getting that prepared so quickly for us. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I had submitted a conflict of interest form for Title Insurance Services, Inc., in which I have an ownership interest, and that is to be involved in the real estate transaction for the police department on the 7+ acres on 28 West, both to hold the earnest money and to do the title work on that. So that conflict of interest form needs to be approved or not.
Okay, thank you. Does someone like to make that motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion that we accept the conflict of interest disclosure statement for Les.
I'll second. Roll call, please, Carol.
Mayor Sheets.
Aye.
Greg Miller.
Aye.
Megan Sheets.
Aye. Okay, thank you.
I had mentioned at the last Board of Works meeting, I think, that we had a bid situation going on for two abutting landowners interested in a vacant lot. The city owns at 1059 West Walnut Street. The bid is up to, I think, $6,500 now, and both are still interested. And we were having to send letters out each time the bid was raised, and at $50 each time. So I called both persons, and they've agreed to just come into my office and bid this thing off. We were going to try to do that this Saturday, but because of COVID and some issues with the closure of our office for a while, I moved that to the following Saturday. So they'll be able to do that then. The only other thing I had, Mayor, was the offer that was received in the acquisition packet submitted by INDOT that I distributed to the Board of Works members at the last meeting. That offer, I think, expires November 9th. It has not yet been presented to the Common Council, but we did submit portions of it to them for discussion tonight. And they probably would want to have some input in the decision that's made on that. So I don't think we can make the November 9th deadline, but that doesn't mean it still can't be negotiated with INDOT. If it ultimately is not, then what happens is they file a civil condemnation suit. The court appoints 3 appraisers, and either accept that appraisal or go to trial and present your own, and hopefully we can avoid any of that. I've also been in touch with the representative from Ivy Tech. He has all those documents, and the last I heard from him over in Lafayette was they were working on getting a plan put together and costs associated with that plan. So that's kind of what the status is on that.
Thank you, Les. I appreciate you working on that. Next on the agenda is unfinished business. Is there anyone that has anything tonight that we need to bring up? Anything? Next is new business, and I don't have anything, but does anyone? I think we can
Mayor?
take a motion. Yes.
I don't have anything for new business, but I think with the resolution 2012, I think since we've gone the route to go ahead and extend that, obviously we don't know what COVID is going to bring to us, but I think it's going to be important for the Board of Works and probably department heads to get together, also HR. I think there's some things that we need to designate as for who essential employees would be, kind of a uniformity for departments that were kind of across the board, maybe even with the health utilities, that we can get something that blankets that, so there's not so many questions about how that goes into effect and how we play that out. So.
Right, because each department would have different things that they might need.
Right.
You know, as far as who can work, who can't work, or who can work from home. Do you think there's any chance we could do that this next Wednesday, maybe during the planning session? department heads? Do you
We're
think-
good.
Okay, so then on Wednesday, we could talk about that, and I don't know, Caitlin, can you be there? Todd would like to be there, I think, so yes. Okay, is there anything else? Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.